Dear, good afternoon to all our listening and viewing public, and of course, a special good afternoon to all of you following on our various social media networks. I'm Avian Parks, Communications Director in the Office of the Chief Secretary. Welcome to today's Post-Executive Council media briefing, where we bring you up to date on decisions taken at the weekly Executive Council meeting. Today, addressing you will be our Secretary of Education, Innovation and Energy, Assemblyman Kelvin Charles, and our Secretary of Settlements, Urban Renewal and Public Utilities, Assemblyman Clarence Jacob. At this point in time, I invite Assemblyman Jacob to the podium to bring you updates on his division. Thank you.
Let me say good afternoon to members of the media. Good afternoon to all of Tobago. Good afternoon to those who are listening on the World Wide Web and on Facebook. My name is Clarence Jacob. I am the Secretary for Settlements, Urban Renewal and Public Utilities, and I will give you a brief update with regards to the activities and the developments that took place within fiscal 2019, fiscal 2020. In the division of settlements, we had an exciting year, and I want to say today is the last day of the fiscal year, and it's prudent of us or prudent of me to bring you with an update on the activities that took place in the department. The Department of Settlements is arm of Tobago House of Assembly, responsible for affordable housing for Tobagonians and the administration of home improvement grants and subsidies. The Department of Urban Renewal takes the lead in projects that concentrate the redevelopment, revitalization, rehabilitation of urban centers and communities. These processes are crucial to stimulate economic activity, enhancement of property value, encourage a sense of civic pride, reduce crime, and attract new businesses. Under the division, we also have the Department of Public Utilities. The Department of Public Utilities has the oversight and collaborate with the Public Utilities Agency based in Tobago, namely Digicel, TSTT, Tiantec, WASA, and TT Post. I will go straight into our launching of our new programs that we are undertaking in the division. We have the outhouse eradication program. This is the elimination of outhouses, or in local parlance, the elimination of latrine, and we will be doing the conversion to in-house water closets or in-house bathroom and bath. The Executive Council gave the approval, or they gave the green light for the start of the outhouse program, and the program is estimated to cost $35,000 for each individual. The program will start in the first week of October, and we have at least 150 persons on the approved list. The first phase, we will start with 40 persons, and we will be starting from tomorrow. Number and value of grants distributed under the Home Improvement Grant. The division has a home improvement program, which is very effective and is utilized by many persons in Tobago. Now I will go into the distribution of the grants, and this fiscal we were able to spend or assist persons relief to their home improvement at approximately $9.2 million. I will identify them. The programs are as follows. Home improvement grant, we expended $4.015 million. For the home improvement subsidy, $470,000. Home completion program, $1.320 million. And the beneficiary owned land, $3.049 million, to a total of $9.24 million. A total of $9.214 million. I will go straight into the status of our development with regards to lands. I want to say today the Corland project is 95% completed. We have cleared the lands, all the surveys were done, lots were identified, and the last phase is for the processing of deeds. Those deeds will be given out in the month of October, and we have approximately 108 lots identified. Those lots were distributed in 2016, and I want to say to all those recipients, I thank you on behalf of the division for your patience with regards to that time that you had to wait to receive your lot. So in the month of October, November, we should see some construction taking place in the Corland area. With regards to the Bell Garden housing development, the wastewater treatment plant has been completed. We have some snagging going on. Road works are ongoing, and the clearing of the lands will take place in the month of October and November. Redefinition of lots will be done. Thereafter, the deeds will be processed. I think in the month of December, we propose to have those deeds processed and persons would be able to start construction. So in a short period before the end of the year, I would encourage all those homeowners or recipients to finalize with your financial institution and get all your financial activities ready. I want to say today we have two new projects at hand. We have the Adelphi housing development, and also we have the Riseland housing development. It is proposed that 100 housing units will be delivered on the Adelphi housing project and a total of 54 at the Riseland housing development. The Executive Council gave approval for the Division of Settlements, Urban Renewal and Public Utilities to engage the National Insurance Property Development Company, known as NITDEC, as project managers for these two projects. So within the next fiscal 2021 is an action year for the Division of Settlements. We intend to continue with our vision and our mission to improve the housing stock and also to improve living standards of the Begonians. I want to say we also have the Soil Link project at the Signal Hill Land Development. The Urban Development Company of Trinidad and Tobago Limited is facilitating the project management services for the construction of the Signal Hill Soil Link. In fiscal 2018-2019, the division identified the need to review and redesign a more efficient wastewater management system in the Signal Hill area. The Alpha Engineering and Design 2012 was engaged by the division to provide the design services and support during the tender process. The system served an estimate of 3,000 persons, which includes 3 schools, 2 commercial office buildings, and approximately 3 family units in the Signal Hill area. Upon completion, a wide population in the Signal Hill is set to benefit, namely the Signal Hill Housing Development, the Signal Hill Secondary School, which is the technical vocational wing, the Signal Hill Primary School, Happy Haven, the UTT Information Technology Center, and also the Division of Health. The cost of that project is $3.5 million. I go straight to the revitalization of Milford Court Commercial Plaza. We have intentions of creating a new lay-by. Works done on the construction of a covered walkway in the Milford Court area. It was engulfed with alucobron cladding material to the front of the plaza building. Also, we had construction of emergency exit point for the plaza for the ease of the traffic congestion in the area. Also, we have remedial works ongoing on the fencing of the Milford Court Plaza. We also installed sinks in keeping with COVID-19 guidelines and protocols. So in the area of Milford Court, we have a lot of activities taking place there. The tenants are satisfied with regards to the enhancement, and I know it will attract patrons to come and patronize in that area. I want to say we also initiated to have a sub-office to accommodate the settlements, urban renewal, and also electrical inspectorate at the Roxborough Administrative Complex. That sub-office would assist persons who want to participate in our grant program. Whatever necessary information is needed from the Division of Settlements, they would be able to be facilitated there. We also have intentions of putting the sub-office for electrical inspectorate to facilitate persons in the east for ease of application for reconnection of your electricity. I want to say today I'm really proud to be a part of the construction of the Isle of Tobago sign. That sign spans 58 feet in width and 8 feet in height. That development came within budget, and I could say proudly today it is a great attraction for all of Tobago, persons both in Trinidad and also persons who want to come to Tobago. I constantly see persons there taking pictures, wedding pictures, etc. So I want to say today to my department, my urban renewal department, I want to give kudos to you all for such a job well done. With regards to public conveniences, the division constructed 2 public conveniences, one behind the Scarborough Library and the other at Milford Court Plaza. We have an estimate opening date for the both conveniences. The one at Scarborough would happen on the 8th of October. It's to facilitate the ease of persons traveling from the east and north side, or persons coming into Scarborough where they have a comfortable place to utilize. Also at the Milford Court Plaza, we have the public convenience there, which we will also launch on the 8th of October as well. And persons there in that area are very happy and welcome that project, because there weren't any before, and now persons will be able to utilize the construction of the public convenience. Under the division, we have responsibility for construction of bus shelters. We have intentions of constructing 15 new bus shelters. The division to undertake the cleaning and sanitizing of all bus shelters across the island in the first instance, and then on a periodic basis. 6 new bus shelters to be constructed, namely the airport, Pigeon Point entrance, one in Moriah, Roxborough, Wilson Road, and Boko Shervan Junction. 7 bus shelters to be refurbished, namely Gardenside, Castara, Black Rock, Palatavere, Crom Point opposite Church's Chicken. I want to say today, I want to thank all of Tobago for your patience with regards to the issues that might be arising in the Division of Settlements. But as we would always say, we are working to enhance our service. I want to also thank my team down at the Department of Settlements for that continued work. You know, every day we have to be protecting ourselves due to the COVID-19, and persons are constantly coming to access the program. The program is beneficial to all of Tobago, and I want to say today, as we go forward, the administration is working very hard to improve your living standards and also your housing stock. 2021 fiscal 2021 would be an exciting year for all of us. Despite our challenges, we have to keep firm, keep focus, and with God's guidance, we will make sure He will guide us to a better era, a better development for all of Tobago. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Assemblyman Jacob, for providing us with that update. I now call on the Secretary of Education, Innovation and Energy, Assemblyman Kelvin Charles, to provide an update on the Division of Education.
Thank you very much, Ms. Parks. A pleasant afternoon to all those who are listening or viewing this post-executive press briefing. Today I take pleasure in providing an update in respect of some of the latest activities arising from the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy. As you are aware, last week we got the release of results from both the CSEC and CAPE examinations. I shall therefore proceed to provide you with some key highlights. I begin with the CAPE 2020 results. 28 Unit 1 subjects were attempted this year, and 25 Unit 2 subjects were attempted this year. In respect of a comparison with last year, there were 27 Unit 1 subjects and 25 Unit 2 subjects. 403 students wrote the 2020 exams from Tobago. In contrast, 378 students wrote it last year. The number of students attempting CAPE examination continues on an upward trend. And what this suggests is that more and more of our students are moving into that level of education, which also implies that more and more of our students are performing better at the CSEC examinations. More subject entries were written this year. Total of 1,621 subjects, and last year's assessment covered 1,543, which would give us a difference of 68. In this year's assessment, 92% of our students received acceptable passes or grades in Unit 1. And this is on par with what happened last year. Last year, the percentage was 92.4%. In respect of Unit 2, 93.3% of the students received acceptable passes this year. And last year, we had 94.2%. But over the last number of years, the percentage has always exceeded 90%, which is considered our base. So we continue to be more or less operating along a particular line. Of particular note is that in 2020, 646 subject entries attained grades 1 and 2. And this is significant. It represents a sharp increase from 517 subject entries achieving grades 1 and 2 last year. We're talking about 139 difference. So that more students have done better in respect of the higher grades in this exam. In respect of Unit 1, passes 100% were in respect of the following subjects: applied mathematics, environmental science, French, food and nutrition, law, literatures in English, performing arts, physical education and sport, and physics. Improvements were seen or recorded in 10 subject areas this year. These subject areas: chemistry, from 83.3% last year to 87.8% this year. Economics, from 75.9% last year to 79.3% this year. Environmental science, 90.9% last year, 100% this year. Food and nutrition, 95.8% last year, 100% this year. French, 87.5% last year, 100% this year. Information technology, moving from 85.7% to 91.7%. Law, 25% to 100%. Literatures in English, from 80% to 100%. Management of business, from 84.7% to 91.9%. And physics, from 94.6% to 100%. And those are for Unit 1. Unit 2 saw 100% passes in 9 subjects. And these subjects are aligned with those that I have mentioned earlier for Unit 1. Improvements were seen in 7 subject areas: agricultural science, chemistry, economics, law, management of business, pure mathematics, and sociology. In respect of the CSEC results, this year 934 candidates wrote that examination in 29 subject areas. These figures represent a slight decrease of the number of students when compared to the number last year. Last year, we had 939 candidates, so it's 5 candidates less. There were 5,239 subject entries, as opposed to 5,408 subject entries last year. In terms of the passing grades, the percentage obtained this year was 69.7%, representing a total of 3,653 of the subject entries. Last year, it was 66.7% that achieved the passing grades, representing 3,608 subject entries. Of particular note is the fact that 6 out of our 9 secondary schools improved their pass rate this year. So 66 2/3% of our schools did better this year. The overall pass rate for students who got 5 or more passes, inclusive of mathematics and English A, this year was quite a phenomenal year. 54.7% of our students. We're talking more than half of the student population who did the examination, achieving in excess of 50%. And that is up, ladies and gentlemen, from 36% in 2017 to 42.3% in 2018 to 45.7% in 2019. So that there has been a steady improvement in the performance of our students, those who have been able to get 5 or more passes, a full certificate, inclusive of mathematics and English A. If we put that in respect of numbers, then last year we had 271 students gaining full certificate, but this year we have 394 students gaining a full certificate, a difference of 123. And you may recall that I did mention that there were 5 students less who sat the exam this year. Equally important to note is the fact that in respect of students who were not successful in the examination, meaning students who got no passes at all, in 2017, we had 92 students representing 10.7% of the student population of that year that sat the exam. In 2018, that dropped to 62 students, representing 6.8% of those who sat. In 2019, that dropped to 56%, representing 56 students, representing 6.7%. And this year, 34 students, representing 3.6%. A remarkable achievement, one would have to say, and it does represent an improvement in the standard of education in Tobago. And I take this opportunity to commend the principal and staffs of our various schools, primary and secondary, because the performance at the secondary level is also an indication of the improvement that is taking place at the primary level. And at the same time, I also want to commend those persons at the Division of Education whose responsibilities involve interfacing directly with these schools and with the teachers in respect of the delivery of the curriculum. One of the initiatives that we did undertake in 2018 was the establishment of a Tobago Teachers Professional Center. And in respect of the new requirements imposed upon us by reference, of course, to the pandemic, we have decided to repurpose that institution And whereas the core function remains the same in the sense that the center was established to provide important support mechanism for achieving the educational goals of enabling teachers to global practice in respect of best teaching methodologies and standards. And given the fact that we are now committed to treating with the new requirements demanded by COVID, we have to move to cutting-edge professional development as we seek to provide support in respect of instruction and online activities by our teachers to their students. And as we reorganize that institution, that unit, there would be a renewed focus as follows. The center will provide the means for teachers to learn teaching methodologies and standards that will certainly help to prepare our students for the 21st century. Be a place, virtual for the time being, where teachers can engage in a collaborative environment to create rich learning and teaching experiences. To offer stronger and more integrated professional teaching support services to our teachers here in Tobago, as well as to elevate teachers to a higher level of instructional delivery, and to provide curricular and co-curricular support for both traditional and e-learning methodologies and environments. So the center will be equipped to offer inter-school and inter-teacher collaboration through technological links. It will be equipped to connect with the community, because after all, we also have to train our parents and so on, as well as to facilitate after-school activities, computer technology training, holiday camp activities, weekend retreats, even though some of these have to be virtual for the time being, radio and TV quizzes, etc., to facilitate and foster that kind of competence, teacher competence, that is demanded at this time. One of the things that we would need to do as well is to upgrade the quality of staffing at the center. I take this opportunity to advise that we continue to get better in respect of the online teaching and learning environment in our Tobago schools. Problems are becoming increasingly minimal, but I want to take this opportunity to say to the Tobago community that I have received feedback from a couple of parents of students attending our secondary schools that suggests that attempts are being made to coerce or influence in ways that are less than appropriate some of our students to engage in private online sessions on afternoons. I consider this totally inappropriate, particularly in respect of those complaints that I have received, whereby it is alleged that for those particular classes, online teaching during the approved time is minimal and less than satisfactory. I have therefore asked the School Supervisor 3 to investigate these complaints and to report on exactly what is taking place. I have also instructed the School Supervisor 3 to engage the principals of those particular schools in an attempt to ensure that if this is so, that it ceases immediately. Furthermore, our curriculum department is expected to take steps to facilitate more stringent oversight of the delivery of our curriculum to our students. Additionally, the marketing department of the division began a project that aims to acquire feedback, video feedback and testimonials from parents, principal, teachers, and even students on their experience within the virtual classroom since the reopening of schools within the context of our online requirements. So that the intended outcome is that the division will be provided with first-hand information on the successes and challenges experienced from the perspective of parents, teachers, principals, and students. With this information, therefore, we'll be better positioned towards implementing corrective measures as we seek to ensure a particular level of best practice as well as a particular level of a sort of robust application of what is required. And in that regard as well, the extent to which we will have to continue to provide the requisite training for our practitioners. Taping started on Monday and is expected to be completed tomorrow. And sample schools would be done across Tobago, east, west, north, as the case may be. I wish to draw your attention, it is in today's Newsday, about the success of THTI and the fact that they have capitalized on the closure of the Trinidad and Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute, and that institution, having moved quickly to online teaching, has now been able to accept applications from students in Trinidad for some of the programs that we do here. As a matter of fact, because the nature of the programs also involves some practical work, it means that those students will eventually have to take up temporary residence in Tobago. The implication from an intended advantage standpoint is that it means business for those persons who provide accommodation. And you would recall that some time ago, I had said to you that one of the reasons that we're moving to develop THTI into a full-fledged university and seeking to define collaboratory experiences with universities abroad was really, in effect, to use the university as a focus for our growth in educational tourism, which can, of course, bring benefits to our economy by reference to foreign students coming in or utilizing our services, thereby ensuring we have foreign exchange earnings, thereby ensuring that our entertainment sector and so on gets business, restaurants, transportation. So whilst that might have been set back a bit by reference to the closure of borders, we can see the birth of this initiative by reference to just this simple situation where the closure of an institution in Trinidad has provided opportunities for the growth of that idea in Tobago. I also wish to advise that in respect of our school repair program, we are currently engaged in doing repairs to our 9 secondary schools and 12 ECC centers. Repairs to our primary schools were completed some time ago, and that the overall cost of repairs estimated is $17.6 million for this year. I also want to advise that since making the announcement of the purchase of laptops, at the time the announcement was made, I did state to the national community that the Executive Council had approved a note to that effect and had committed to locate the funds for the purchase, since no funding was budgeted for the purchase of these devices, as it was not anticipated. The funds have been located. The evaluation of requests has taken place, and that before the end of this week, the requisite orders will be placed for the procurement of these devices for our students and teachers. That, ladies and gentlemen, for the time being, represents the key activities over the last 2 weeks by way of a summary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Assemblyman Charles, for that update on the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy. And now we'll move to our question and answer segment. As usual, media, we ask that you raise your virtual hand, and we have one media house in-house with us. So I see Elizabeth Williams, TV6 News. Good afternoon, Elizabeth.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the panel. This question is to the Education Secretary. With respect to what he stated before, in terms of teachers not giving the appropriate education during the day, and then sessions are being offered in the afternoon paid for, can you provide to us the number of schools you are speaking of, and whether they are primary or secondary? And my second question, with respect to the devices that are to be purchased, do you have a total number of the devices that will be purchased?
Thank you, Elizabeth.
In respect of the issue concerning the classes, as I indicated, have received feedbacks, complaints, if you wish, from a couple parents, and I have therefore asked the SS3 to look into it, because these, for the time being, are allegations, and I would be loath to identify the school at this point, simply because the information has to be verified or authenticated. In respect of the devices for schools, the good thing is that since we made the decision, we received a couple of quotes by invitation. And as you're aware, because some taxes are off, we're looking to see how we can maximize the number that we are seeking to purchase, so that I should be in a position whenever I address you again to indicate precisely the number of the devices that have been procured or that are earmarked to be procured.
We go to Clayton Clarke, Radio Tambourine. Clayton, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Avian. Good afternoon to Mr. Charles and the other persons at the head table. My question is to the Secretary of Settlements, Urban Renewal and Public Utilities, Mr. Clarence Jacob. Recently, Radio Tambourine, we got reports of water issues in Charlottesville. We spoke with the village council, and yes, they said that tanks and other arrangements have been made in the village, but there's still an issue. Persons in the low-lying areas not getting water, and if the tanks have to be filled, that means the water for the village has to be cut off for, they were saying, probably close to a month, and they were suggesting some tanks in Flagstaff. But the point is there are water issues in Charlottesville. Are you aware of it? What is the plan to continue improving the water supply up there?
Thank you, Clayton.
With respect to the water issue in Charlottesville, I am in communication with the wastewater treatment, with WASA, and there are ongoing works there. They have the information, I also have the information, and that issue will be remedied in a shortest time possible. More than that, we have a lot of complaints coming in from all over Tobago with regards to water issues, and as the secretary, I am well informed, and the information is passed to WASA, and they gave me the commitment that we will deal with it as soon as possible.
Thank you. We go to Corey Connolly, Tobago Newsday. Good afternoon, Corey.
Panel, Mr. Charles, staying with the whole online education issue. I know you mentioned it's very well a work in progress, but has there been any analysis done by the division on the number of students that are actually without laptops and or connectivity?
Yes, and we continue to drill down because what the analysis indicates is that a number of those students with devices are in fact using their cell phones or their parents' cell phones. And in some instances, some of the students are exhibiting good relationships they are sharing, and those at the secondary school. So that I have asked, and we are collating that information in respect of those who are using cell phones and so on. So it will inform our policy of laptops and tablets distribution, because we'll want to ensure at the end of the day that there is a certain degree of equity in respect of those who can access these devices and access the online learning. But what the analysis has also pointed out to date is that the vast majority of our students are in fact engaged online. The challenge, however, as I see it, is the amount of time that they are engaged productively online, particularly in relation to the use of these devices. Because for those who may be using their parents' cell phone, when the parents wish to use their cell phones, what happens? You see, so that is part of the challenge. But because of that, we do have some students, as you know, who are quote unquote tutored via the packages. And those are not very many, it would appear, given the data that has been presented to me so far.
We go to Akinlabi Holder, Tobago Channel 5. Akinlabi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. I would like to pose my first question to the Secretary of Education. Good afternoon, Mr. Charles.
Good afternoon, sir.
I know that you would have spoken about how well our students would have performed in the C-second exams this year. And I don't want to take anything away from the performance of the students or the teachers and the schools. But do you think, given the circumstances this year, and CXC withdrawing the paper 2, which is the paper that is best suited to test students' knowledge of a particular subject, do you think the withdrawal of the paper 2 sort of skewed the performances of students, not only in Tobago, but across the region upwards, and therefore is a bit of an anomaly when measuring the year-on-year performances of students?
I am not persuaded by that view because the replacement, as I understand it, was by virtue of multiple choice. And for those who are familiar with evaluation techniques and what is considered in pedagogical circles as Bloom's taxonomy, the questions would have been so structured that they would have tested various levels of learning, beginning with knowledge, which is the lowest, and then would have gone to comprehension, and then would have gone to analysis or evaluation, so that the questions would have reflected the same level of skill requirements that they were seeking to measure, albeit by a different mechanism.
We go back to Elizabeth Williams, TV6 News. Hello again, Elizabeth.
Good afternoon again. This question is to Mr. Clarence Jacob. If you can tell us how many houses have your division delivered for this year, and also if you have the total number of houses that was delivered by your division to date.
Within my tenure, I delivered no houses. What we are engaged with at the moment is the delivery of service lots in the Corland area and also in the Bell Garden area.
We go to Clayton Clarke. Before I go to Clayton, actually, Cassandra Thompson Forbes, because you haven't asked any questions as yet. Cassandra Thompson Forbes, Garden Media. Good afternoon, Cassandra.
Good afternoon, Avian. Good afternoon to Secretary. I have two questions, one for Mr. Charles and one for Mr. Jacob. First question, please forgive me, Mr. Charles, because I had some technical difficulties and joined a bit late. So I'm hoping that you may have not spoken about this. But did any school in Tobago come to the Division of Education in relation of any protests, which really when it comes to results? And my second question for Mr. Jacob, are you satisfied during your tenure that you would have been able to achieve some of your objectives as Secretary of Urban Development and Housing?
Okay.
That's it, my only question.
Thank you, Cassandra. So the first question for Mr. Charles regarding whether you have received any protests from students about the results.
What I can say is that I have been in conversation with the person in charge of our curriculum department as well as the SS3. I've also spoken with the Honorable Minister of Education. There are some students in Tobago who have concerns. Particularly, there are some students in respect of art, the subject art. There are some concerns as well in respect of SBA assessment. There are 1 or 2 students who have concerns based on the fact that they were performing quite well prior to, and their grades were lower than what they were anticipating. I know that for a couple of the schools, an initial correspondence would have been dispatched to the local registrar. Whilst we continue to do more detailed analysis of the issues. Parents and students are advised that if they are uncomfortable to liaise with the principals of those schools, and then those principals will then take the appropriate action to ensure that those issues are communicated to the Examinations Council. So there have been a few that I'm aware of.
And the second question is for you, Mr. Jacob. Are you satisfied with your performance over the last 4 years?
I am satisfied with my performance. We have 2 new projects that we will be undertaking. That is the Riseland project and also the Delphi project. Feasibility studies were done. A consultant was engaged to do the electrical and mechanical and quantity surveying works. They are the project managers. Sod turning should take place in mid-November for the Riseland project, which will entail 54 houses. With regards to historic development, we have the Column project, which is 95% completed, which will be delivered to recipients, 108 persons, and also we have coming to a conclusion, or the Bell Garden project with regards to persons who were given lots up at the Bell Garden Housing Development. 45 persons were selected. And I am not ashamed of anything with regards to my performance. I am here to increase the housing stock, and as my vision and my mission rightfully say, I am doing so. But everything takes a process. The paperworks are already in train, and it's just for the turning to take place and then action.
So we'll go for another round. Clayton Clarke, Radio Tambourine. Hello again, Clayton.
Good afternoon again, Clayton Clarke, Radio Tambourine. A question is to the Secretary of Education. All focus on getting the teachers and students ready. And I know the Minister of Education also highlighted the challenge with ministry staff coping with the challenges of this whole online schooling. How is the staff at the division who have to interface with the school and the students? How is that coming along and getting them up to mark to assist the teachers and the students and whatever issues that may come up? Because this is a new thing for all the stakeholders.
The staff at the Division of Education has been up to the task. Clearly, it is it requires more work than they may have been accustomed to. For example, our IT department has had to go to all the schools and ensure that there is adequate connectivity, ensure that the devices there, be it photocopiers, printers and so on, are up and working, and those that are not to be replaced. You know, our curriculum officers, we don't have enough of them, but those that are there have been working assiduously in ensuring that what resources are available and assistance that is needed, in fact, can be made available to the teachers and so on. Our supervisory department, same thing. One of the challenges I think we have is that we have one school supervisor, 3. So I know that she is challenged in the sense that she has to work on the call. And it is a situation that we're looking at because I recall when I was at secondary school, we had one SS3, and at that time we had 3 government secondary schools. We now have 9 secondary schools, including government assisted, and we still have 1 position of SS3. But we are coping as best as we can in the circumstances.
So our final question this afternoon would come from Akinlabi Holder, Tobago Channel 5. Hello again, Akinlabi.
Hello again. My questions are for the Secretary of Settlements, Urban Renewal and Public Utilities. And those questions are, given the frequent power outages on the island, Secretary Jacobs, can you tell the member of the public what is the cause for the frequent power outages on the island? And have you been having talks with the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission concerning the matter?
Yes, sorry. I've been in close conversations with the head of TNTech in Tobago, and there are little issues in the Cove Industrial Estate. Those issues were rectified, and whilst we have our little issues, we have to take into consideration these cables, these machines are man-made, and at some point they would malfunction. The issues are not long-standing. They are not issues that prolong for any lengthy time. And I would say today, issues would arise as development take place. Whilst construction is going on, there will be issues as well. But we as a body, as an administration, will collaborate with the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission to make sure that we inform the public reliably and to give them an update with regards to what is taking place. So the information with regards to outages, they would occur with regards to little deficiencies with the cables, changing of the cables, turbines being damaged, etc. So those issues would be remedied.
Is it, Secretary, that the equipment, the machinery on the poles and the transformers and so forth, is it that the infrastructure is aged and as such not efficient?
No, the turbines we have a very world-class equipment in the Cove Industrial Estate. We could also supply the islands as well. For example, Grenada, we have enough energy to supply Grenada, and also we could also give assistance to Trinidad as well. So the equipment are first-class equipment, but as I said again, as time goes along, equipment depreciate, and then they have to be transitioned or changing maybe cables or things like those. The last information I got, one of the cables were broken. The cable had to be changed, and during that process you would have a little outage here and there. So that is basically why you have sometimes you have these outages.
One last question. Many persons have raised the issue that the unreliable nature of the island's energy is a hindrance both to the economic development and now because of the virtual educational development of the island's children, as students and some teachers have complained that their classes are being disrupted by our outages. Are those statements something that you would agree with? Is the unreliable electricity a hindrance to both our educational and economic development on the island?
The supply is not unreliable. As I said again, issues would arise and then they will rectify the issue. For example, in the Bonaccord area, I can't tell when last I experienced maybe an outage. I don't know, maybe when I come to Scarborough, maybe in Crown Point there's an outage, but I can't tell when last. So maybe in specific areas there would be outages, as well as sometimes they have to be changing transformers, upgrades to poles, etc. So those would be attributes that will contribute to maybe these outages, but it's for upgrade purposes. So we have to be informed with regards to what is really taking place sometimes before we make these suggestions. Lines has to be upgraded. Sometimes we have birds. Recently there was a high wind where the lines touch each other and it threw off the electricity. So at that point, persons might have been maybe during class period and experienced outages. So when those things happen, you have to, TNTech will immediately send their crew down whatever area to rectify the issue. As well as we have, sometimes we have persons, accidents, etc., persons colliding with electrical poles that will cause electricity to fail as well. So with regards to the supply of electricity in Tobago, I think we have a keen supply of electricity, but for unseen circumstances you would have sometimes the outages.
So thank you very much. I did indicate that Mr. Holder would have been the last person to ask questions. So I want to really thank the members of the media for joining us this afternoon. Thank you for your questions. And thank you to our two secretaries, both Assemblyman Charles and Jacob, for addressing us and updating us on their divisions this afternoon. Thank you to those of you who are tuned in. We want to encourage you to stay safe, mask up, sanitize, social distance. Today we had good news from the Tobago COVID update. We had 3 additional persons being discharged, bringing the total number up to 50, and we now have 8 active cases on the island. So let us continue doing what we have to do, adhering to all the health and safety protocols as advised by the government of Trinidad and Tobago and the Ministry of Health. So do have an excellent afternoon, and we'll see you again next week, same time, same place. Thank you.